Good morning, here's Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Thursday the 13th and a lot of action has been going on in the market the past 24 hours after numbers came out of US last night. Nasdaq moved higher towards the, actually closed above the strong resistance at 15,265. So the uptrend has resumed and been extended. What is interesting is that RSI, there's still massive divergence, but it broke above the falling trend line here. So there should be more upside potential. Next level, it's not a strong resistance, but it's 78.6 retracement at 15,411. Around that level is likely to be tested. Other than that, then there's room up to around 16,000. Let's see if we can move higher towards that here in the coming days and weeks. I still think that we will see a bit of a peak here in a week's time or so before we see a correction. But going into the end of Q3, that still looks very promising, but the uptrend is a little bit stressed. So same goes with the S&P 500 higher, testing the falling trend line here on the RSI, but there's no strong resistance until around 45, 46, could spike up to 64, 30, 37 level. In the Asian market, we saw the Nikkei, JP 225 CFD bouncing from just below 32,000. Could be the correction is over. We have 40 threshold being held here. If we bounce back above the 60, then we could see further upside on Nikkei markets. On the European markets, a little bit more muted. I mean, we were up about 1 to 1.5% yesterday. This morning, a little bit slow, and we are still in this range. It's still a standard downtrend. We have a lower highs, we are lower low again here. So we are short-term in a downtrend, but it's 15,482. They're still holding on. More or less the same picture on AEX25 Amsterdam here. I think we'll be range bound here between 777 and 748 here for quite some time. We need at least to break out of these levels before we see any direction. Almost identical picture on CAC40, 7,404, and to the downside 7,083 are the levels to break out of. On the FX side, a lot of action was taking place yesterday. We had the dollar-yen dropping even lower yesterday, got hit massively below the 138.80 support in this consolidation area here, or support area here, just in the upper part of the cloud. We could see it dip down to 137.85 around that level. I mean, the RSI is below 40, so we are technically in a bearish sentiment. We could dip down just to touch that, maybe a little bit lower, but the downtrend seems to be a little bit overdone. And if we're looking at the weekly chart, well, the uptrend is still intact, but it is a little bit in jeopardy, but it's still intact, and we have a bullish RSI and no divergence, meaning that it is merely just a larger correction, but it was needed. On the sterling yen, bouncing off the rising trend line, lower rising trend line here, just around 179.90 support area. The RSI is still bullish, but there's divergence. So if it drops below, close below this rising trend line, we could see a sell-off down to 174, around 20 in this support area here. But short term seems like we are bouncing a little bit. There's some strength coming back into it, and euro yen also close to test the rising trend line. Has retraced the 50% of the latest uptrend, but not really nothing to talk about on the bigger picture. If we just zoom out a little bit here, we can see how it's it's just a minor correction for now. But if we break below the trend line, well, then there could be a move down to around 150.60 level. 152.20 is the likely support for euro yen. On cable, sterling dollar moving higher, and let's have a look at the weekly chart also. Here we can see that it actually broke above 130 level around here, where we have some resistance, and it's also the 78.6 retracement, very strong uptrend. The divergence was traded out, and we are likely to see higher levels on cable in coming weeks. But short term it seems a little bit stressed, but again, your trend is your friend, and it seems like we are moving higher. Euro dollar also higher this morning after a massive buying yesterday, very close to test 11.85 level here, where we have the 200 weekly moving average coming down, providing some resistance, and we have the resistance area here at 111.85, 84, 85 level. So we should see a correction from there. You can see also the short term very stretched, and a minor correction should be expected. But euro dollar is on the medium trend in trending up, and there could be room up to 115, where we have some resistance around this level. But a little bit of correction, expect that before next move up. Finally, on Aussie dollar, also broke this little deadlock here and seems to on the move to 69.20 resistance area. We have RSI above 60, so it's back in bullish mode, and it could test this longer term or medium term to longer term falling trend line. That could be crucial to break. If it breaks above that, well, then we are looking at 71 plus levels. While we are at FX, let's have a look at the gold spots. Touching the 38.2 retracement here at 1963. Expect a little bit of a setback, but I think we have seen the bottom in gold, and I think we are back to move. We are back to move higher towards 2,000 and potentially higher. You can also see a 38.2 retracement just around 1900 was also the level that seems to be a very strong support level, and gold seems to be picking up both a short-term and medium-term trend. Silver, very strong move yesterday. Taking off up by almost 3%, around 3%. 24.50 is the next resistance level. Also here, if we can get back above the cloud, well, then we are back in business or back in bullish trend for silver. It is actually supported by the bullish RSI. So what we can do is we can say, okay, that was it. The divergence is over. Back towards 24.50, possibly up to around 20.25 on the medium term. And the dollar index, it went through the 100.68 key strong support with a bang, and seems set for lower levels around 98.63. That's the support area, where you can see there was some consolidation back there. So between 98.63 and 97.45, and where we also have the 200 weekly moving average coming up. On the commodity side, on the energy space, we had Brent oil breaking higher the other day, and you can check out my analysis on energy, natural gas and crude oil yesterday, where they're heading. 83 seems like a target short term for Brent crude oil, 82.5, 83, where we also have the 200 moving average coming down, providing some resistance. But we are now in short term in an uptrend. If we can break above the medium term falling trend line, well, then there could be more upside medium term up to around 89, 90 level here on Brent. And on WTI, more or less the same picture above resistance here, room up to around 79, possibly up to 83, 83.5 on the medium-term trend. Finally, let's have a look at the yields, U.S. Treasury yields. We have this the 2-year that got hammered yesterday and is falling through to this morning. And I think we could see it down to the 38.2 retracement at 4.48 before the correction is over. I still believe it's a bit of a correction, but it's been a very strong uptrend lately, so a correction was needed. I still think that we will move higher in coming weeks. US 10-year below the rising trend line. It's a little bit of warning sign if you are bullish on yields, but I think we could dip down to the 61.8 retracement at 3.75. That's a little bit lower than first anticipated, which was around 3.85. But if it finds support here and then bounces back, then there we could see higher levels going forward in the coming weeks, going into August and September. The crucial part is if it drops below 360 and these lows here, well, then it's completely different picture, and that's something to look out for. And finally, on the 30-year, not so much of a move, but still back below 4%. Not so much of a big correction there. Finally, one thing I forgot to mention, however, is that on the Scandi, excuse me, on the Scandi FX pairs, sorry to jump in there, forgetting about that one, bouncing off or testing the 1120 support. This shoulder-head-shoulder pattern has emerged and is unfolding, and I believe we could see a drop down to 11, just above 11, 61.8 projection of the head to neckline here, but there is potential down to 10.80. But I think we will see some buyers coming in just before then. Also on EUROSDJPY, 1150 being tested, bouncing from that level, very very strong support level. Could bounce a little bit further, but the short-term trend is down. All right, that's a long one today. A lot of stuff to talk about, but let's talk again tomorrow. Have a nice day.